Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda. I have ADHD. That is what we call ourselves when we are autistic and also diagnosed with ADHD. I also have some other neurodivergencies, so make sure you check out my playlist. This is not a medical channel. This is a vlog of my late diagnosed experience. And oh, that was such a good start. Okay. I hope you like it. I hope you like my channel. I was about to hit that pause button, but one of the things that I do on my channel is I try to edit as little as possible because I want you to experience what it's like really talking to a ADHD or autistic person. And a lot of times our thoughts are all over the place, and it just is how it is. And I'm working on the unmasking process, and I can't always edit myself in real life. And so I'm practicing not doing it on the internet too. Okay, so little context. I love giving context because autistic people, we love context. And so if you've been to my channel before, I haven't done very many videos outside. And I'm outside today because we're having some carpet removed from our house, and there's a lot of noise going on inside the house. And so the last 3 days, we've had a lot of hammering and sawing, and that leads to dysregulation. I've done some activities outside the house trying to be away from the noise, but between managing the construction, managing the pets, and also helping my autistic children, it's been a lot. It's a lot. But as y'all know, I love making content. So I was very excited to talk about today's video. And it's a beautiful day out here. So hopefully it stays fairly quiet and I can do this whole video. So today I want to talk about some Allistic versus autistic communication styles. I actually came across a TikTok of a therapist a couple days ago. And in her TikTok, she said that if you state a fact without following it up with something positive, then what you are doing is giving a critique to that person. And I immediately was like, oh, wow, that sure is an Allistic way of thinking. So Allistic, it just means someone who is non-autistic. So I was undiagnosed autistic growing up, and I was conditioned to think this way. But I've learned that that isn't how my gut reacts to things. And I am trying to break down that conditioning. I'm going to talk more about that later. But an autistic person often states facts about their environment as a way to process our environment. So in her example, if a friend walked into a room and you said, oh, you're wearing a yellow dress, and you didn't follow it up with, I love the color yellow on you, or something else like that, then your statement of a fact is going to be taken as a critique to that person wearing the yellow dress. This is really important because a lot of autistic people just aren't even aware that they are being perceived this way, because we often say facts. When we are processing our environment, we often just state things that we are seeing. It is one way that we are taking in our environment. In another video, I talked about how autistics are bottom-up thinkers, and this is one of the things that we do. One of the ways we process our environment, we have to take everything in, is sometimes, especially for me, if I'm more dysregulated, I'm going to be saying facts. Sometimes they're like, I'm hungry. And I don't even realize I'm hungry until I've said it out loud. That's one way for me to process my own internal state, is when I hear myself say it. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know it until I said it out loud. Yeah. So if my friend comes in wearing a yellow dress, I might say, oh, you're wearing a yellow dress. Because especially if I've never seen her in that yellow dress or something like that, it's going to be a way for me to process that change. Like, that's a new dress. I'm not making a judgment at that time. Like, literally when I first say that statement, it isn't because I like the dress or don't like the dress. Right at that moment, it is me just saying it is a dress. It is a yellow dress. Now later, I might follow that up with, oh, I don't like that dress on you, which I would, again, I am not so blunt that I would say it that way. I am very uncomfortable with lying. And if I really don't like an outfit that a friend has on and they ask me, what do you think about this outfit? I am going to try to find something positive to say about the outfit. Oh, that cut is really nice on you. That's just kind of, again, how I was raised. But when I'm just saying the color, you're wearing a yellow dress, at that point, there's no judgment at all. And I may love it, I may hate it. I haven't gotten that far into processing it yet. That's why I'm saying it out loud. I'm just processing the information. The sky is blue, the grass is green, the flowers behind me, they're also yellow. Okay, I am going to pause because I did take some notes today, so I will be pausing a little bit throughout this video because I want to make sure I hit some certain points, which I don't always do. A lot of times I just talk straight off the cuff, but I have some actual points I want to hit today. So one of the ways that Allistic people communicate is through tone and subtext. So again, in that same conversation, if you were to put a tone to your question, oh, you're wearing that yellow dress, and you raise the end of your sentence, then that is really going to come across as a critique of that person, because that's sounding like, oh, you're like that. I don't like that dress is what your tone is implying. The problem is autistic people often don't know how to regulate their tone. They're not aware of their tone, and their tone may also just come off as straight as a flat affect. So they don't raise it or lower it. And tone and volume are slightly different, but also autistic people may talk at a higher volume or lower volume and not be aware of their volume changes. So one thing that we as a society really could benefit both allistic and autistic people is if we start really working on having check-ins. Instead of just automatically jumping to a conclusion that somebody is being negative or critical of you, if we did a check-in and say, hey, what did you mean by that? Or, you know, did your tone sounded angry, or your tone sounded argumentative, or whatever, that you perceived it. If you actually said your feelings out loud concept, then that gives the other person a chance to be like, oh no, I was just noticing. I haven't even had a chance to decide if I like your dress yet or not, or whatever. I'm going to keep coming back to the dress example. It is interesting. I think that if we could have a cultural shift where we are doing more check-ins with each other, I mean, oh my gosh, wouldn't that just be beautiful for communication around, like, completely? But a lot of rude people do actually try to hide their rudeness in sarcasm, tone, and subcontext. But if they knew that they might actually get checked in on that and be like, hey, did you mean that to be the way I heard it, which I heard it as being rude? I wonder if there would finally be a shift where people would be more, or be less likely to be so rude. But here's the thing. There's always going to be rude, hateful people in the world. I get that. It befuddles me. I don't quite understand it. I'm not somebody who is really ever intentionally rude. I'm pausing because I'm like trying to make sure that's a true statement, but I always try to lead with kindness. But in our culture, and I'm speaking specifically of American culture just because that's the culture I was raised in, I don't know what's happened over the years, but we as a culture are always looking for the negative from people. Our gut reaction is that somebody is out to get us or to be harmful or to be rude. We are more surprised by kindness these days than we are by somebody being hurtful. And what I have found is a lot of that, again, is miscommunication and perceived insult. Because over the last couple of weeks, I have really taken an effort to start asking for clarification. And when I have gotten a comment on a video or even in person in a friend where I didn't understand the context or the tone, and I've said that plainly, and I've said, hey, can you give me a little bit more clarification? 100% of the time, the person has come back with more clarification and been able to communicate that they did not have any ill intent, that their original words I just took in a wrong way. And that's what I was saying a little bit before. I was raised undiagnosed autistic. So I was basically raised with neurotypical thinking patterns and speaking patterns. But the thing is, my gut instinct was always, well, maybe I'm just not understanding that person. And I think I had that gut instinct because I was so often misunderstood. Every time that I would speak to people, people read my tone in subcontext that I'm not putting out there. And because I was so often misunderstood, I then was able to project that to other people and think, well, maybe I'm just not I'm misunderstanding them. And I knew the way that my culture wanted me to perceive their words in a critique or negative, but I also would not ask for clarification because of a fear. My mask was to protect me, and it would put me into a fight. I mean, for me, for some autistics, the fight instinct would come out, but for me, it's more a fawn or flight, and I would just leave. When I didn't understand something, I would exit the conversation. But now I am stepping up and asking for clarification, and it's been so amazing. I mean, the responses are, oh no, I did not mean that to be hurtful at all. This is what I've meant. And I said 100% of the time, but so I made a response TikTok to that therapist, and on my response TikTok, there was a lot of comments happening. And there was one comment thread that I was really busy yesterday again with the construction, so I didn't really participate in the conversation. But it was between two commenters, and they were going back and forth. And one of them, if I can understand, because that's a whole nother tangent, but the 150 character limit on TikTok drives me batty, and it makes back and forth conversations on TikTok nearly impossible. But Watson, my doggo, this one person was just really holding on to the fact that a statement is a critique. And the other person was saying that's an ableist point of view. Autistic people don't think that way, and, please consider our brain type. And it was interesting because, again, through clarity, he was able to really clarify, no, I really believe this way, which is fine. I think that he would probably have a better life if he kind of worked on including others and being more inclusive. But he wasn't hiding his intent. He wasn't being snarky. He was being somebody who'd be like, okay, yeah, I'm not interested in having you as a person in my life if you're not going to be willing to work with my brain type. Communication, that's all it is. Just let's communicate with each other. Which just led me into my straight next point. Communication takes two sides. It's speaking and it's listening. If someone misspeaks or if somebody misinterprets, communication isn't happening. A point that I want to drive home is that not one neurotype is better than the other. Allistic communication isn't better than Allistic communication. Did I say that right? Allistic communication is not better than autistic communication. Both neurotypes exist in the world, and they both have legitimacy. What we need to do is work on being aware that the other neurotype exists, and so that we can be able to communicate effectively across neurotypes. Some autistic, so autism is a disability, and one of the reasons why is some autistic people are not going to be capable of having that level of awareness. So that is when it really is on the community to do extra work to be able to communicate with the person who cannot bring their communication skills up to match. Ableism comes in when an allistic person thinks that an autistic person needs to mask or change the way they communicate to better fit the allistic person's point of view. So if an allistic person is told, no, I did not have a judgment with the color of your dress, I was just processing my environment, and the Allistic person says, well, you need to stop doing that. Do not just state facts. That is rude. And they're not willing to believe or listen to us that it wasn't a critique, then that's ableism. Growing up as an undiagnosed autistic person, society taught me that I had to manage my emotions and the people around me. I literally changed who I was to make other people comfortable. Autistic people often get accused of having low emotional intelligence or low empathy, but we actually become experts because we get so good at not only managing our own emotions, but literally managing the people's emotions around us, because we get conditioned to knowing that when we say things, then it triggers allistic people. And so oftentimes autistic people, as they age, end up withdrawing from community, becoming much more introverted. I thought that I couldn't be an autistic person for many years simply because I'm extroverted. And a lot of autistic people identify as introverted. But I actually wonder, and I do think that there are a lot of autistic introverted people, but I wonder if there would be more that were more extroverted, except after years and years and years of repeated being misunderstood by the people in your life, you literally just quit. Don't, like, why continue? Like, I'm done, right? The goal in our communication efforts should be for both sides to be heard. If an autistic person says something that you feel is rude, give them the chance to clarify. Check in with them. Say, hey, that hurt my feelings, or what did you mean by that? Or can you give me some more context? Or what did your tone mean? Autistic people aren't above doing this either. We often will think that someone else is being rude to us too, because especially if we were undiagnosed and masking, we were taught to mimic neurotypical communication styles, which leads to a lot of confusion internally for us. Because again, oftentimes my gut reaction was different than what I knew I was supposed to be doing. It just never felt right. It never felt comfortable, but that's just the way people did things. So that's what I learned to do. And part of my unmasking process is to be who I am, not change my tone, be okay with processing the environment the way that I need to process the environment, because it lowers my stress and anxiety and allows me to be in a space. So the goal here is to have communication. My hope is that with more awareness, patience, time, people doing more check-ins with each other, that we are going to be able to bridge these communication gaps. What needs to not happen is for one neurotype to tell the other neurotype that they have to change who they are or their brain structure to conform to the other one. That isn't the goal here. Okay, so I am curious. I'm curious how you found the format of this video. I do prefer to just talk off the cuff, but I had so many important things that I wanted to say in this video that I did go ahead and make an outline. Again, it's different ways to communicate, right? Off the cuff, my more flowing vlog style, I love it. I will keep doing those, don't worry. But that isn't the only way I know and can communicate. And so this time I did decide to do a more structured video, and that's still not going to be as structured as a lot of YouTubers, but that is okay because I am finding who I am in this unmasking process and how I want to communicate with my audience. And I can't even tell you how much I appreciate the support and the community I have found on this channel. You guys are the absolute best subscribers in the whole wide world. And one last thing, I sign off like this. A lot of my videos lately, I love it. This is I love you in ASL, American Sign Language. I realized after a comment I got that obviously I have a worldwide audience, which I love, and we don't all know American Sign Language. So this is I love you in American Sign Language. So I like to do as I hit the turn off the camera button. So y'all are the best.